Hello, and welcome to Cinema Showdown 2016. I'm your host, Nathan Orenstein with The No Show. Let's meet this episode's contenders. First, we have Moonlight, the Best Picture winner from the 2017 Academy Awards. Moonlight presents the viewer with three stages from the life of a homosexual black boy named Chiron: his childhood, his time in high school, and his young adulthood. Chiron is forced to struggle with his sexuality, his identity, and the subsequent abuse he faces as a result of it. The challenger is La La Land, which was considered to be the favorite going into Oscars night. La La Land is a musical romance about a struggling jazz pianist and an aspiring actress who fall in love in Los Angeles. As their dreams start to become realities, they must adapt their relationship to their new lives. To change things up a bit, only two movies are going to be competing in this week's showdown. I had originally intended for Hidden Figures to be in this episode, but I decided not to include it for a couple reasons. For one, I just had to pit these two movies against each other as a tribute to that iconic and infamous Oscars mishap. But more importantly, in my humble opinion, Moonlight and La La Land are two of the very best films from this decade. And as great as Hidden Figures is, it would have felt a little weird to include it here. Introductions aside, let's get into this showdown, starting with Best Direction. 32-year-old Damien Chazelle became the youngest person to ever win Best Director when he won for La La Land, and his win was practically a given by the time the Oscars rolled around. I mean, really, all you have to do is watch the opening sequence and you'll understand why. The Los Angeles that Chazelle has created here is far from that played-out version of LA you're so used to seeing. His use of color is unapologetically vibrant, and it creates its own aesthetic without really feeling like it's trying too hard. Honestly, this version of Los Angeles feels like it's part of a fantasy movie or something, and it's the perfect backdrop for a musical romance about two dreamers. But Chazelle's direction is much more than just a pretty setting. This movie is extremely fluid, yet you can tell there is so much going on behind the scenes, and it all comes together perfectly. There really isn't anything unrealistic in La La Land, but Chazelle's direction really elevates things to make them larger than life, and it almost feels like a fairy tale, with the musical format fitting perfectly here. There's no doubt in my mind that Chazelle deserved the Best Director win here, and he's certainly going to win for La La Land in this category. Though admittedly a distant second, Barry Jenkins was considered to be the runner-up in terms of betting odds when it came to Best Director. Though there was no world in which La La Land was going to lose to Moonlight for this category, that does not mean that Moonlight's direction is bad by any means. What I think is most impressive about Jenkins' direction here is that it basically has to cover three different short films, all connected by a central character. I'll refer to them as chapters from now on. Each chapter has its own aesthetic, atmosphere, emotion, yet it still has to be based around that same central character and overall tone of the film. Not only that, but in some cases, 2 or 3 different actors are required to play the same character, as that character ages throughout each of these chapters. Barry Jenkins has to juggle that, the atmosphere, the aesthetics, everything, and he does so incredibly well. Each chapter feels like a part of a complete whole. Jenkins also has a penchant for long shots, whether they cover an entire scene or just an extended close-up on a character's face, and they always manage to elicit an emotion from the audience. Moonlight's taking second place in this category, but it would honestly probably win against most other films. So at the end of the category, La La Land gets 2 points and Moonlight gets 1. Next is Best Screenplay, which Moonlight won for Best Adapted Screenplay, and La La Land ended up losing to Manchester by the Sea for Best Original Screenplay. Now, if Moonlight was going up against Manchester by the Sea, this might be a different story, but honestly, going up against La La Land, Moonlight, without a doubt, wins this category for me. Moonlight provides a brutally raw and unfiltered look at a gay child's upbringing in a largely homophobic community, and it's every bit as emotional as it sounds. And I get it, that could totally sound pretty Oscar baity to some, but I promise you it's not. Jenkins adapted his screenplay from an unpublished semi-autobiographical play by Terrell Alvin McCraney, and he's successfully able to capture that painful reality that comes with a story like this. It's not all a downer though, and Chiron's interactions with genuinely caring and loving people feel like a legitimate look into the good that's in humanity. Simply put, Moonlight is realistic in every aspect of its screenplay, and it brings the intense highs and lows of this tragic story with it. That leaves La La Land in second place for this category, and I don't have too much to say about this one. As you might have been able to guess, this isn't really a movie that's too concerned with telling a particularly groundbreaking story or anything. It's more concerned with the spectacle of it all, and that's completely fine, especially when the spectacle is this incredible. But what La La Land does bring is a dynamic relationship that's forced to change as these two people both work towards achieving their goals. Nothing really jumps off the page here for me, but I do think La La Land is at its most interesting when things aren't necessarily going as planned. The struggles and compromises that these characters have to go through to make their careers and their relationship work feel authentic, and you genuinely feel for them when they struggle. The dialogue is pretty sharp in these moments especially, and La La Land actually has a lot to say about love, success, and happiness. It's still an enjoyable screenplay for sure, but nothing amazing by any means, and certainly nothing that was going to take down Moonlight. So at the end of this category, Moonlight gets 2 more points and La La Land gets 1. We are tied going into this final round of Cinema Showdown, which is best performances, and I decided to go with Moonlight over La La Land. I've already kind of indirectly talked about the performances here, but I'll kind of bring it all together. This story does not work without an incredible cast to provide that strong sense of realism, and the cast here certainly doesn't disappoint. Especially considering the 3-act narrative structure I described before, some of these actors are forced to play characters that were already previously played by a different actor. For example, the high school version of Chiron is a different actor than the young childhood version of Chiron. Yet he has to adapt to those traits and personality kind of nuances that actor portrayed. Sorry, that sounded totally confusing, I'm sure, but basically what I'm trying to say is this film required a sense of consistency, especially to add to this realism, and the entire cast delivers. In terms of standout performances, Mahershala Ali is the clear pick here, who plays a drug dealer named Juan who basically becomes a father figure to Chiron in the first chapter. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly what makes his performance so great, but I feel like Ali really embodies this character, and everything he does feels so authentic. Naomi Harris is also fantastic as Chiron's drug-addicted mother, and her character goes through such a change over each chapter that it honestly feels like Harris is playing 3 separate roles. Finally, we've got easily Janelle Monáe's best performance of her career as Juan's girlfriend, and she basically becomes another mother figure to Chiron as well. Honestly, this movie does not work without an incredible cast, and I am so thankful that the cast is so strong here. As big and as bold as La La Land is, we really only have Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone in terms of a cast. Ryan Gosling is great here as usual, bringing his typical charisma to a role that basically just feels like a version of Ryan Gosling that really loves jazz. Honestly, he fits here so well that it feels like the role was written just for him, which is kind of ironic considering it was actually written for Miles Teller. The real star of the show here, though, is Emma Stone as aspiring actress Mia. She easily has the biggest emotional range of anyone in this film, and it all plays really well. I think the best parts of her performance are the ones where her character, an actress, has to act, and Emma Stone really captures the highs and lows of this experience really well. I guess really the only other big name here is John Legend, who plays an old friend of Seb's, Ryan Gosling's character, who's also the frontman of a modern futuristic jazz band or whatnot. His performance is fine. I don't really have anything to say about it other than just to acknowledge that it's here. The unsung heroes of this film, though, are all the performers in these larger-than-life song and dance numbers that take place throughout the film. I'm no expert on anything like this regarding musicals, but I'll just say that they're all super impressive. 2 thumbs up. It's not enough to beat Moonlight, though, and Moonlight adds 2 more points and La La Land adds 1. Our final score for Cinema Showdown 2016 is 5 points to Moonlight and 4 points to La La Land. Congratulations to Moonlight. Honestly, though, these movies are both 10 out of 10s in my opinion, and I highly, highly, highly recommend you watch both of them. Moonlight is obviously a bit harder hitting and isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea, but La La Land at the very least is one of those films that I think anybody could appreciate, so go check that out at the very least. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, then leave a like and subscribe if you're new. And I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below about whether you agree or disagree with my takes here. I've been Nathan Orenstein with The No Show. Thanks for watching.